Michael Pachter in his new role, Director of Strategic Planning over there at Wedbush Securities. Michael, how you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year. Last day of 2025. Not a bad year in the markets. But for those of you who don't know Michael's full history, he's been on the show for a long time. He's closely followed Netflix. And he got behind Netflix on the wrong side of it for a while, and it went up and it went up and it went up. But then when it finally came down, he reversed his call, and it's actually there's a study being done right at or they did do a paper at Harvard University on it on
Yeah, case study. Yes.
yeah, a case study. So who better to have on the show to talk about this mess going on between Netflix, Skydance, and Warner Brothers Discovery? And from just give you my opinion here, could you pick a worse sector to do mergers and acquisitions in than the entertainment?
Oh, good question. Yeah, the content creation sector's tough. And it's tough because I don't think that they figured out a really great business model for content creators. We've kind of lost the film exhibition. I mean, it's gotten cut in half, and television production heading into like regular cable TV networks is seeing declining viewership, and there just aren't as many eyeballs consuming content. Those who do are consuming through streaming services that don't pay that much. So the content creation is troubled, which is why Warner Brothers was such an unattractive asset in each of its successive acquisitions iterations. And that's why there's always been a seller of the assets. But I think now, for Netflix, it's a very attractive asset. So attractive because Netflix does, in fact, have a giant installed base of consumers who aren't going anywhere, subscribers. And they are in a position to leverage that giant platform by adding content. So for them, it's super attractive, and the deal makes a ton of sense.
Okay, so you do see you do see why they're doing it. They're taking on a lot of debt to do it. They've had some competition with it. But what you're concerned about, and what you brought you on today to discuss, is the regulatory angle to everything.
Yeah, I mean, two things. Regulatory, which I will go into in as much detail as you care. But the other thing is they're not offering as good a price as Paramount. So, all things being equal, if the price was the same or if Netflix was the high bidder, I would say the thing is doomed in regulation and regulatory review. But they're not offering the best price. So what makes this saga so melodramatic, is that Paramount's offering $30 a share, which it comes out to $108 billion, assuming all the debt. And Netflix is offering 27 and change, and with stock involved, and it's a complicated deal. And it comes out to 83 billion. So last time I checked, 108 billion is more than 83 billion. And I've read people who said the difference is maybe 17 billion. Maybe I'm doing the math wrong, but definitely higher from Paramount. And so that aside, that alone should be enough for the Warner Brothers board to say, yeah, we're selling to the highest bidder. But the melodrama here is they said no, or I don't know if they formally said no, but they're going to formally say no. That's shocking to me. I mean, they are violating their fiduciary duty to shareholders. But even if they say no, I've never seen this before. I don't know what happens. If I'm a shareholder, why do I listen to the board? I would rather have 108 billion than 83 billion. So I can't even imagine how shareholders are going to back the board and vote for the merger. And this is not like there is a single shareholder of Warner Brothers stock, like David Zaslav, who controls more than 50%. There is not. So first of all, I think the board's going to get sued into oblivion because they're recommending taking an inferior offer. Their basis for taking the inferior offer is that Paramount hasn't lined up the financing yet, but Larry Ellison guaranteed 40 billion of it. please trust me. And that offer is more like 70 something billion, 72 billion before debt. So they have to raise 32 billion, and he's putting more than 50% of that down. So of course banks are going to lend to him. And so I'm shocked that the board could even say it's inferior. They're going to lose in court when they get sued. So we may not even get to regulatory review for Netflix, but let's say that the shareholder base is stupid and the shareholder base is not greedy, which again, not consistent with US shareholders, and takes the inferior offer. Then the Justice Department, who is charged with scrutinizing whether deals are, here's the word, anti-competitive. If the Justice Department does its job, that's a big shocker under Trump. But let's say that they do, Netflix is doomed. And the reason that they will, in fact, do their job is because Trump is going to find out that Reed Hastings is a big Kamala and Newsom supporter, and that's going to be the end of that. You have the only other time I've seen Trump actually get involved in some kind of a deal because somebody did something political that he didn't like was the guy that Elon Musk recommended for NASA, and Trump blocked that guy's appointment because he was a Democratic donor, just reinstated him to suck back up to Elon to get Elon to fund the 26 campaign cycle. But truthfully, that nobody's going to step up with a lot of money, for Trump, for him to change his mind. So I think he's going to be anti-Reed Hastings, pro-Larry Ellison. Tell the Justice Department, do your job, and their job is prevent anti-competitive mergers. And a Netflix merger is anti-competitive. They're not spinning it that way. They're spinning it as if they are merging two companies that provide access to filmed entertainment. And so they're comparing themselves to YouTube Premium, which is a low price subscription that gives you access to music and all YouTube videos without ads, and Amazon Prime, which is essentially a service that allows you free delivery. But they're lumping those in and saying the market is gigantic and we're just a tiny percentage of it. That's wrong. Then they're also comparing themselves to TikTok that you don't subscribe to and any other way people consume video. That is like Walmart and Amazon merging and saying we're only two retailers and there are a billion retailers on the planet. So don't stop us because we're only 1% of all retail. Just wrong. Just not how it works. So, and Amazon and Walmart, just for your edification, are about 10% of all retail. So saying, we have no pricing power because we're only 10% of retail, the government would block that. The government of every country would block that instantly. These guys are the number one and number three true subscription. I'm sorry, number three true subscription services, because Amazon Prime doesn't count. We are not members of Amazon Prime for video. By dollars, they are combined more than 50% of all dollars spent on streaming. And what the first thing you said, it's a bad business. They would have so much leverage over content that content producers would be captive to whatever they chose to pay. So bad for content creators, anti-competitive, bad for subscribers, anti-competitive, and the Justice Department, the UK Competition and Markets Authority, and the EU Competition Commission all would step in and block this thing. So I don't see this thing having a chance in hell of going through. But before we get to that, let's get to the price, and Paramount's offering a superior offer. So again, I don't know why Netflix believes it's going to win this, even if the board does the wrong thing. And even if shareholders are stupid, the government's going to block it. So I would say count on Paramount owning Warner Brothers by the end of this year, by the end of 26, and more likely by mid 26, and count on Netflix never owning them.
So what are the implications for Netflix stock if
Netflix is going to have to continue to either create its own content or license good content. They've done a bunch of movie deals, so we all know that they create a ton of content. But they have a movie deal with Sony Pictures, So there's a movie on there, one of my top films from last year called Caught Stealing with the guy that played Elvis. I forgot his name, but he's quite good. I really liked it. So they get lots of movies. They're going to have to create their own content. Warner Brothers and Paramount combined are maybe 25%, 30% of film production, and so that they would not be bigger than Disney and Fox combined. So that would go through, but Netflix will have to compete with them, and it's good for creators that there's plenty of competition for them to sell their TV and film ideas to. Netflix already has a lot of bad baggage because they clearly don't pay as much as others for content. And one of the things I think is fascinating is HBO does. So HBO has been kind of the bastion of rationality for content providers, that HBO will pay up for TV series. And if you look at Emmy Awards, HBO wins about the same number of Emmy Awards as Netflix, with about 10% as much content. So same number of high quality shows with 10% as many at bats. That's like, a guy who hits a home run every time he's at bat versus a guy who takes 10 times as many at bats to hit the same number of home runs. You'd rather have the guy who hits one every time. So HBO pays up for it. Netflix wants that, but the implication is Netflix won't pay as much as HBO. The quality of the content will decline. Netflix will charge $30 for a subscription to both, and over time they'll just drive the cost down to everything to the similar to what Netflix pays now.
Okay, so Netflix seems like it's kind of stuck here. Either way, the stock has not had a good performance. Well, let me just look. I know it.
Yeah, the market doesn't like the deal. So the market thinks, as you said, Netflix taking on debt is bad for Netflix shares. I have to say, to be really fair and really honest, I think the deal's an awesome deal for Netflix. So if Netflix were to get this, they get the HBO brand, they get the HBO 130 million subscriber base, who's already paying about the same as Netflix customers are paying. You could add the two together and price them at 20 or 22 and just tell every Netflix subscriber you're now an HBO subscriber, and everybody would pay because they're getting that much more and that much better content, and then slowly raise the price to 30, a dollar a year for the next 10 years. And that's where I think they actually make a ton of money, wipe out the duplicate overhead, and then clearly over the 10-year period, wipe out the content cost differential. Don't make as much content as the two do currently. Make the same amount of content Netflix was making before, but Netflix suddenly has 300 million subscribers paying $5 or $10 a month more, and they make 30 billion a year more with the same cost. So over time, it's a great deal for them. Everything I just said, the government should question. And there is no structural remedy. The government can't say, okay, Netflix, you're going to give both away for no increase in price. They can't. They won't say that. If they said it, sure, fair deal. You'll never raise price and everybody gets both. Come on. They won't do that.
All right, so let's flip it here with a Paramount Skydance here trading $13.40. If they do end up winning the bidding war here for Warner Brothers Discovery, is it a good thing for them?
Yeah, it is. Their streaming service sucks, and I say that because the good content on the site, and there is plenty of good content, is virtually all produced by Taylor Sheridan. So, Taylor Sheridan is the guy who makes Yellowstone, but he also makes Mobland and Landman and Lioness and Tulsa King and anything else you watch on that network. He signed a deal with Comcast, so he's going away. And so they're in a world of hurt on their streaming service. His existing content will keep being produced and stay there, but all his new stuff's going somewhere else. So they need to do something. HBO is just a gem. It's the diamond of all streaming assets, and they will in fact run HBO the way it's been run and keep it likely for a while independent. But that's really good for them. But probably more importantly for them, Paramount Studios and Warner Brothers Studios give them a much greater access to theatrical exhibition and a content stream and television stream. Warner Brothers television is very, very good. So they're going to get a lot more content. I think they run the business the way it's been run, probably slightly fewer synergies because they won't screw anybody. I think if I'm Hollywood, if I'm a producer, I'd much rather see Paramount as an owner than Netflix. So I think if we ever have hearings on this, you'll see the content providers weigh in that they would much rather Paramount get this than Netflix.
So you're looking at, whoever gets Warner Brothers is going to be a winner.
Yeah, Warner has a bunch of assets that are largely untapped. It's an open question whether Paramount will figure this out, but the way Disney did. But Disney managed to buy Marvel and figured out the superhero genre. And the year before Disney bought Marvel, I think there was one Marvel film, Iron Man or Spider-Man. Iron Man, sorry. Iron Man. Spider-Man is Sony. So one film from them. And I think in the 5 years prior, there were three, a Thor and two Iron Men. And now we're up to 2 or 3 a year. So Disney has taken that library and exploited it, turned it into something that has recurring revenue. They did the same thing when they bought LucasArts. Star Wars was, I don't know, 6 films total, and Disney has managed to put out at least 3 or 4 since then, and continues to do a lot of TV. So I think that Paramount and Warner Brothers, you'll start to exploit the DC library. And the DC decisions have not been good. I mean, Suicide Squad is just a stupid property, and yet they pushed it really hard. It's an untapped games library, and their games division is actually pretty competent. Paramount's not. So I think that you'll start to see better exploitation of the properties for games. As an example, there's never been a Mission Impossible video game. Why? It's an awesome property, but they've just never done it. So I think you put Warner Brothers game development together with Paramount content, and you start to get really good stuff. So I'd say David Ellison is enlightened enough to see that that's a big opportunity. No one's talking about it, but it's a huge opportunity.
Let's ask you just a few other issues here before we let you go. You've been pretty hands off on Disney for quite a while here, and not having a great performance, poor relative performance to the market here. Just the same with Disney here, or can they?
I think Iger is one of the most visionary CEOs ever, and I think his vision in building, turning ABC and Cap Cities and Disney into an ESPN, into a real company, is just phenomenal, and he did an amazing job. But then the acquisitions of Marvel and Lucas really vaulted the company into prominence in everything. And he's done nothing new or different since. And I think his fits and starts with replacing himself, he made a bad mistake by chasing away Kevin Mayer, who should have replaced him. And now he's looking at, the head of the film studio, which is fine. She'll be fine. But he's just sticking around too long. And everybody there is too afraid of him to tell him that he should get the hell out and move this company in a more positive direction. I think Disney Plus as a streaming service is a mess. I don't think they have any idea what they're doing, and they charge way too much. They've jacked the price up to $20. I mean, they're more expensive than Netflix, and they offer less quality content than Netflix. So time for somebody else to step in. I'm not sure the assets are as great as the assets of Nvidia or Tesla or Microsoft. So I don't think this is a $1 trillion company. The assets are quite comparable to Netflix, and they trade at a fraction of what Netflix trades at. But that's because the market believes Netflix will keep going, and Disney just hasn't yet figured out that model. So I'd say when Iger goes, we can decide if the new CEO is visionary or not. He's just lost it. And again, super competent guy, one of the most visionary ever. But there's the Peter principle. You're promoted to your level of incompetence. He's got this winning formula. He keeps doing the same thing, and when it stopped working, he just kept doing it. And I'm saying for the last 6 or 7 or 8 years, he just hasn't pivoted, and he hasn't kept up, and he blew it. I mean, he probably single-handedly is responsible for Netflix's success, because he licensed all his content to them instead of competing with them back in 2011. Had he competed back then, Netflix would not be what Netflix is. Disney would be.
Okay. Just throw a couple of other issues here, if you could kind of them briefly. One that you gave us a long time ago here, roadblocks. Hit a roadblock here, 150 back down to 80. Monthly chart not looking so great here. Any comments on
Yeah,
roadblock?
yeah, big comment. And I have no access to research, so I am not the publishing analyst here, and I do not tell them what to do. I'm going to tell you now, Roblox is going to absolutely crush numbers when they report the December quarter. And the reason the stock went down is they got a new CFO who prudently guided to a slowing sequential growth number, I think 5 or 6 or 7%. So he said the December quarter would only grow by 5 or 6%. If you look at December versus September for the last 5 years, it's averaged 22% growth sequentially. And the reason for that is nothing that Roblox does right. It's gift cards. And I promise you, gift cards haven't changed. Gift cards are purely a function of the number of players, and the number of players is huge. So they're going to print a plus 20 sequential growth number. The market is looking for plus 5 or 6. They're going to destroy numbers. And when bookings, which is cash revenue, when revenue comes in at that level, they can't spend it fast enough. So their EBITDA number is going to knock your eyes out. Their cash flow number is going to knock your eyes out. And unless he says something to derail that, I think the stock goes up 25%. So I would play options and put yourself in front of this print, which should be around end of January, third week in January, and play it for 25% growth. I think this is a slam dunk grand slam. That's a mixed metaphor of sports, but it's a slam dunk grand slam. You're going to make a ton of money.
Okay. All right. Good, great input. Just a couple others that we talked about, and I'll let you go.
Did you ever invest in my favorite, in Playtika?
I am there. I'm in it, and Dennis is in it.
Okay, good.
And Dennis, I got in a little bit better than Dennis, but it's just kind of hanging out here at $4. So we sticking with it.
Yeah, you stick to it. So the cool thing about Playtika is it trades at about 5 times EBITDA. And the reason that it trades at 5 times EBITDA is the market thinks that their EBITDA is going to shrink. So, if the market thinks EBITDA is flat, stocks trade at 8 times. If they think EBITDA is growing, they trade at 10 or 12 times. These guys are trading at 5 because the market thinks their EBITDA is going to shrink. So when EBITDA doesn't shrink each quarter, the stock should pop by 5 or 10%. We're going to get that probably again third, fourth week in January. They're going to show EBITDA flat or slightly growing. And when they slightly grow EBITDA, you get a 6 multiple. So I think this stock goes up 30, 40 cents a quarter for the next 20 quarters. I really do. I think this is a $10 stock in 2 or 3 years. And I think it's a $15 stock in 5 years. And in the meantime, you're getting a 40-cent dividend on a $4 stock. So you're getting 10% to make a bet that I'm right. And full disclosure, I own now 600,000 shares. So this is my retirement fund. I really like Playtika. And again, that 10 cent a quarter dividend, I'm getting $60,000 in the first week in January. So I'm pretty psyched.
Okay, well, if it doesn't work out, we always got some room on Pre-Market Prep and Stock Trader Network.
There you go.
But I'm sure you got other assets. One other one that I hope the January effect is not affecting this stock. Boy, Getty Images had that ridiculous pop a couple weeks ago to $3, and now it's at $1.25 here. Not much to say, but just wanted to get your input on Getty Images.
It's they're merging with Shutterstock, and the government. U.S. has just asked questions. We haven't heard anything yet there. The U.K. has made some noise, and I think people all assume the worst. The truth is, unlike my Walmart and Amazon example, these guys, they do dominate the subscription market for images, and so does Shutterstock. But they're kind of bifurcated, where Getty is the high-end copyrighted, everything that they own is copyrighted, so proprietary content, and Shutterstock is the leader in commodity content, not copyrighted. So they're really not competitors. Getty wants to be in the non-copyrighted business, but they're not attracting the numbers that Shutterstock already has. So Shutterstock has literally 10 times as many subscribers, probably 100 times. And Getty just wants access to that because they figure those people eventually will want copyrighted content. I don't see how this deal gets blocked. There's really no rational basis to block them. Each company does under $1 billion in revenue, so it's a $2 billion combined revenue company. That is just tiny, and the guys they compete with are Microsoft, Clip Art, and Acrobat, Adobe. Guys with hundreds of billions of revenue. So the idea that these guys are a threat to Microsoft or a threat to Adobe is stupid. So I actually think the deal does go through. It'll take a little longer than people expected. It was supposed to be closed by today, and obviously that's not happening. And I think the ARBs just got tired of it and have kind of been peeling out, and there's no interest. So once the deal happens, I actually think Getty's worth $5 to $7 a share. There's a lot of synergy there. You wipe out overhead of one company and you just add their EBITDA together.
Okay. Michael, I can't tell you how much we've enjoyed having you on over the years, even with your new role. And we want to find some time to have you on in 2026. I know the time change is a little bit different, but this 10 o'clock time suits you well. And we got something. You definitely you put your stake in the ground, and we'll be watching it.
Okay, go Blue.
All right. Thank you.
All right, man. See ya.
All right, there's some conviction from Michael Pachter, Wedbush Securities here on the Stock Trading Network. Getting a little exclusive there. Brentster, how you doing?
I'm doing well. So much conviction from the Michael Pachter comments in his voice that Triple D buys Roblox for the long-term account at 80.97. Wow. He bought Roblox while Pachter was on air speaking.
Dennis, it's at 81. Get out. You up 3 Dennis? Oh no, it's 89. Oh, 80.95. You're down on it, Dennis. You're losing. You're losing.
That was great. Michael is excellent. I mean, we had a lot of good feedback in the chat. Just a nice conversation, just like a really good, intriguing conversation that you guys were having, Joel. That was
He's a
great.
great guy. So
Yep.
lucky to have him on here. Okay. All right. I'm gonna wrap it up, Brent. Me and you got you
Cool.
got that link for the 1045. We'll do a brief meeting there and
Cool.
see what we can do to improve our marketing in 2026. So, folks, thank you. Hope you enjoyed this session. Just wanted to check a look at Micron. Micron still working its way lower, brought. So we'll if I don't come back and sneak up on you guys later on, happy new year. But definitely won't be on at 3:00 because that's when the Michigan game starts.
Oh, nice. Go Blue. Trading Edge with Prad at 12 at noon to 1 p.m. today. And then CC Legators Options Unchained 1:30 to 2 p.m. today in the STN room. Options Unchained will be on YouTube here. So tune in a few hours if you are in YouTube land. And then, as Joel just said, Triple D and I will be back at 3:30 for the close.